Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Kim aka Lego Artisan. In this video, we'll be looking at the SitCom suites, which is the spin-off MOC of the SitComplex. Now, I created this MOC for several reasons, one of which is this resource management. Given that the SitComplex required several floors and required a lot of medium nougat and light bluish gray parts, I wanted for myself and for the other builders to have the option of using other colors so that they won't have any shortages and they would find it easier to collect the parts from vendors or from their storage or collection. So I opted for these tan and dark tan colors, which are normally easy to find considering we have lots of sets that have tan colors, especially Star Wars and Harry Potter sets. The other reasons why I created this MOC is due to the height limitations and the weight limitations that most of us have in our Lego rooms or in our cabinets. By the time that I created this one, I had already done about 5 or 6 levels of the SitComplex, and I noticed that it was getting bigger and taller, as well as heavier for the tables that I had back then. I also received some comments from other builders that they really appreciated the MOC design. However, they could not go any higher given that their cabinet space or their shelves won't allow for the extra height and extra weight that the module building is imposing. So I ended up creating the SitCom suites. The other reason why I created the MOC for the SitCom suites is that we have experienced earthquakes in our areas. And I'm sure some of you also experience earthquake in your areas. And it will be really strange and unsafe if my initial reaction to an earthquake is to run to the Lego room to protect the SitComplex buildings and the others. So I didn't want to have that predicament or that scenario where I get hit by debris just trying to protect the SitComplex and trying to prevent it from falling down. So MOC building that is shorter, well, relatively shorter than the 13th floor building design that I made for the SitComplex is a little bit easier to deal with during those times. So for me, it's more of the safety purposes and ease of mind that I won't have to run to the Lego room during earthquakes. There are several more reasons why I initially created the SitCom suites, but overall, it's just really to have a building that can complement the SitComplex in a Lego City layout or in a Lego Town layout. And so the SitComplex won't stick out like a sore thumb. It will have something beside it to complement it and make it more realistic in a layout on my Lego Town. With all those things being said, I'm going to go from the ground floor all the way up. Currently, we only have 1, 2, 3, 4 levels here. The design has about, I think, 10 levels. But they are alternate versions of the other floors that I already have in my SitComplex. So technically, I would only need to build 2 more levels here to be able to have the same height as what I would have in the SitComplex. Although shortages in the tan colored bricks is an issue for me right now, so I haven't built the other 2 levels yet. Maybe if we also have some more studio style sets that come from the Lego Ideas theme, I'll be able to add something like the office or another TV show on the upper levels here just before we reach the rooftop. Having said all of that, we'll start off with the ground floor, which is the Queer Eye set. When LEGO released the images for the Queer Eye set, which is also in studio style, I knew that I was going to turn it into another ground floor building, a commercial one, and also have an alternative build for it as an additional floor to the SIT complex. And I'll show you that image now. The reason for me doing this is that after seeing the image, I knew that it wasn't a typical apartment where you would have bedrooms and toilets and other amenities that you would have in a normal apartment, and it could serve as a commercial building for a ground floor. Now, given that people wanted to have an option to build it as an additional floor for the SIT complex, I did the same thing and turned it into somewhat like an apartment or an office, but on the second level rather than the ground floor. And with this one, I wanted to focus on having this image of the TV or the TV show as a focal point or an advert for what is the intentional commercial building for this ground floor. And when I created this as well, I had some shortages with the dark bluish gray tiles, so I used different colored ones, and I typed in, or I placed in, the word suites for the SitCom suites, and then it ended up with these 1x1 tiles and plates as sort of what the Queer Eye set represented, which is diversity and inclusivity. So I think that one worked out well, and considering that this would have been all dark bluish gray tiles, it would have been a little bit boring. So having this colored one makes it really pop out and more interesting. So you also have here a plant and then a sitting area, and then the stairs that lead up to the upper levels. Again, on this side, now you have the image or the advert for the Queer Eye show, which people or minifigs would see when they pass by. That was one of the focal points that I wanted to create for this ground floor. Now for this part, it would have been an empty space as well in the initial design, but it would have been really flat white and then light bluish gray. So I wanted to put in some color for the sand green and then reddish brown, so that it would have some burst of color in it and not be so bland. Even though the building right next to this is the Central Perk Cafe and Pub, I still tried to make a cafe out of this one, or like a tea shop or something, instead of just having a blank area. So this one is a small tea shop or cafe shop, and you have here Loki with his TVA mug and Frog Thor getting some drinks. And I think it adds a little bit more detail and complements the colors really well. You can actually even remove the top part to see the interior for that. I'll move it a little bit closer. We have some croissants, some coffee making machine, and then some syrup and sugar and whatnot. So it has some full interior there. So let's move on to the interior of the SitCom suites. First off, you can see that the wall at the back is open like most of the SIT complex floors, so that you'll be able to see the interior even without lifting the other floors from the ground floor. I've kept most of the interior intact and adjusted slightly to complement the layout for the rest of the building. So you still have here the kitchen where you have the full counter and the refrigerator and all the shelving and all the details that you would have from the initial set. And then you have there the board, and you have here the living space where initially you would have the TV here, but then I removed the TV, so it's just a living space now. But the set has made it so detailed and nice and classy that I didn't want to change most of the things that are already placed in the set. Also, here you have the changing area where people get made up or have their makeup or haircut, and then you have some clothes there, and then you have here the cabinet, and also on this part you have a toilet. I also make it a point that whenever I build a Lego MOC, if I have space, especially for a modular building that this size, I make room for a small toilet. You have here the changing area, and then behind that is another door, although it's very tight, that leads to the toilet and some wigs and hat and bags and all sorts of accessories. So again, whenever I create MOCs like these from official sets, I try to make sure that the idea or the concept behind the MOC is still translated in the building, and I want to sort of enhance what they have already done, which is really great. Even if you just have the set as it is, it's still a great set to have. Although again, the main purpose of this one is to make all those studio style sets become cohesive, and you'll be able to place them in your Lego town or Lego city without having any problems in space. The next floor that I have is Will and Grace. Now, if you look at the design on sites like belverbricks.com and rubricable.com and mocsmarket.com, you would see that this one is colored black, and the windows are colored black as well as the fences here have different colors. I still have to change this one and buy white fences, but initially what I had done is to change it a little bit more from the initial design and turn it into brown and white, sort of to make use of the parts that I already have in my collection, and also to reduce the price, because by this time I had already been buying most of the black windows, black tile pieces, and all sorts for the SIT complex. So it's more on the resource management. And like I said, I've seen some people do the same thing for the SIT complex, wherein they use their own collection in different colors, in different parts, to make up the MOC and reduce the cost for their design, which for me is really great. I always say, do what you can with what you have and be innovative. It doesn't have to be an immediate buy. When you have it in your collection, even if it's a little bit different in color or in the pieces, it makes it more unique for you to use your collection. So I did the same thing. And now we'll go on to see the interior. So by this time, I had already learned from my designs in the SIT complex what I should and shouldn't do in terms of the design. Again, I kept the clear panels at the back, and reduce the parts or areas where you have bad sides. So I try to make it as consistent as possible in terms of the aesthetics, both interior and exterior. Upon entering the apartment, you'll be in the living room where you have there the fireplace and the seating and the table where you have some cups, a bottle, and candles. And then you also have here a cabinet with some lights on the side. And then you have here the table or the dining table, some small cabinets there, and you have the kitchen over there. I tried to make it as close to the design of the TV show layout as possible, but we all know that that's not always going to be 100% guaranteed. I try to make it as close as I can. And then here you have the toilet where you have the bathtub, a sink, and a toilet bowl over there. And then you have here Grace's bedroom, and you have there a small crib for her baby, which was not really included in the design online, but I placed it there as an additional detail. You have here the hallway, and then on the other side is Will's bedroom. Although again, this isn't 100% accurate to the TV show, I played around with the parts that I have and the space that is available for a small bedroom, and I did what I can. Then you have here another area where you have sort of like a seating or a lounge or something. They didn't really show much of it, I think, in the TV show, so I just placed it there, and maybe it's a reading nook or an area there. And you have here a small balcony with some chairs and flowers. Again, I really like this one, given that it doesn't really have an official set. I actually tried to submit the Lego Ideas, the Will and Grace studio style layout, but upon finishing the design, I found out that Will and Grace isn't actually accepted as part of their restrictions or whatever due to the content of the show. So I opted to turn it into a floor for the SitCom suites and also for the SitComplex. I'll show you the picture for the SitComplex here. Okay, so having finished all of that, the only thing that I could still add to my Will and Grace layout is to fix this part here and put on the proper fences or railings, and also to create the minifigures for the 4 main characters. So if you have an idea of how the characters would look like, please let me know in the comments down below, or send me a message or photos on Instagram or Facebook, or an email. The next one is the TV show New Girl. So I watched a few episodes of New Girl back when it was airing, I think in 2010, 11, and then I rewatched it in 2020 while we were all grounded and had to stay home for more than 2 years. So I created the floor using the images that we had on the TV show as well as the internet, and created the layout for it. As you can see again, it has the same setup where you have white fences, you have the white windows and the brown arches here, or awnings. It has a different layout from the rest of the building, where you have here a balcony and you have here a hallway that leads to the front door. This is because in the layout of the apartment building in the TV show, the entrance was here in front rather than the usual entrance at the side. So I had to adjust the layout to fit what was in the TV show. And with that in mind again, let's go look at the interior. So for the interior, once you enter the door, you have a small area there, and you have some different TV show Easter eggs that the ones who have watched the TV show would be able to recognize, like the mug, the letter, and then you have here in the kitchen cookies. Everyone would have known what the cookie meant if they had watched the show. And then you have here a very small bedroom, because in the TV show they had sort of a gag that Schmidt had the smallest room in the loft or the apartment. Then you have here a table with different colored seating, which makes it a little bit more fun and colorful, and not just a bland color of just white or black. You have here coach trying to dunk a ball, and then you have here Schmidt putting money on the swear jar. You have here their couch, and you have here a broken TV, and you have Cece. So by showing you or telling you all of this, you would understand that I actually watched the shows and I have more references available. And then you have here Nick's bedroom, and then Jess's bedroom, and this one is supposed to be like a cabinet. Then you have here the shared bathroom. We have two sinks, a toilet, a urinal, and the shower. I used a different technique again, which I used as well in the Town Square pub, to create sort of the curtain style. So technically this would have had one more room here, but I didn't have enough space and had to make up for the corridor that leads to the front door, so I just kept it as a blank area for the corridor. In front here you will have Nick and his book, the Pepperwood Chronicles, and then you have here Jess with her feeling stick. Let's move on to the next floor. The next one we have is the Sesame Suites, which is a counterpart to the Brothor's penthouse, given that it's the top floor and it has a different layout compared to the rest of the building. As you can see here, you have a door that leads to the stairs going down the lower levels, but then you have an open area here and here where you have the mini builds and structures that would have been in the sidewalk of the Sesame Street building. So when I first saw the Sesame Street set, most of the people had already done MOCs of it being a separate building, either as a corner building or as a half modular, and I wanted to create something different with it. I didn't want to create what had already been done, so I turned it into an apartment or a penthouse instead. And this one is actually sort of like a daycare, which was suggested by one of the Lego fans that saw it, wherein people can bring their kids here and they could stay and play while their parents work. So you have here the living room, you have a couch, and you have there a TV where kids could watch, and then you have some toys on the side with a goldfish and the bell on top, just to signify that it's time for either the kids to be able to go home, or a break time or nap time or something. And then you have a small seating area there as well, and then a phone. And here you have a nook. I would say that this one is a reading nook where Sesame Street characters could read to the children and have a quiet time or reading time. You have here a bathroom and a toilet as well. And then you have here the kitchen, where you have more cookies for Cookie Monster. You have a small stove and exhaust on the side and small cabinets. And then you have here an area where you have lots of different stuff for food and snacks for the kids and also for the caretakers or the tenants. You have here an area where the kids can sleep, and they have their more toys, a train, a book, a teddy bear, and all sorts. So again, the intention for this one is to have an area or a building floor that is for a daycare. You have some adverts here that can be seen on the back side of the building, which is an additional detail that I had to place and make use of, considering the parts that were provided in the official set. Also, for the rooftop portion of the SitCom suites, I have pre-recorded a video where I changed this and modified it from the initial design and transformed it and added more details to it. So I'll be showing that video right here. As part of this video, I will be updating the rooftop of the SitCom suites, which is not really up to par compared to its counterpart, the SitComplex Brothor's penthouse. So I'll have to add more details to this one and make it as gorgeous and as detailed as the SitComplex. So let's start off with the rooftop. And here we have the updated rooftop for the SitCom suites. So it still has some room for improvement, but it's definitely much better than what it was earlier. And I've managed to place in a small picnic area with a tree, and then lots of flowers, and then some pumpkins and carrots. And then you also have here a small fountain with some lily pads, bird, and then a small tree again here, sort of like a bonsai, similar to the one that you can see in the Ninjago City Gardens. Then you have here some benches and the other stuff like the air duct, the birdhouse, the chimney. This part remains the same, but overall it's already colorful enough and it complements the rooftop really well, I think. Yeah, it does. And I'll just move in the SitComplex, and there you go. It now has more details that can match up to the SitComplex, and they would look well together on top of the Lego Town. So I'll move this back to their respective buildings and we'll have a final look. So all in all, this is how the SitCom suites look like right now. I'm really happy with how it looks, and I do intend to add 2 more levels at least to make it at the same height as the SitComplex, and I'll probably do that when Lego releases another set or sets that would complement and be able to be added as additional floors for this MOC. Now it's time for me to place this back again to our Lego Town area, which is right beside the SitComplex over there. So you'd be able to see again how it matches up with the other buildings, especially the SitComplex. And this is how our SitCom suites in the updated rooftop looks like just beside the Sit complex. I'm sure it will look nicer once we add the 2 additional floors, but I'm not on a rush to try to build those 2. I'm quite happy with how it looks right now, and I know I have a lot more things to do, a lot more projects and MOCs to create in the next few months, so it's okay, I will wait. I'm a very patient person. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please click the like button and the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you'd be notified when I release new videos. And also, I hope you try out building the SitCom suites, the Sit complex, and the other MOCs that I have created. I did create quite a few this month of June, and I intend to create more, hopefully in the coming weeks and months and even years. Who knows? Until next time, bye!